we rely on our customer data, right? And we're looking at augmenting that, right? Enhancing that with some third-party data to get even more insights for our clients. So that is a product, a solution that are planning to launch sometime this year. And that's something different for us.
Welcome to the Marketing Report, a podcast created for and by marketing professionals who seek to better understand their consumers and design unique, personalized experiences that stand out in today's market. In each episode, hosts from Verisk Marketing Solutions connect you to industry thought leaders, practitioners, and experts focused on improving B2C experiences through powerful data-driven insights. It's about how we connect with our consumers and where we can partner together to do it better. This is the Marketing Report.
Welcome to the Marketing Report podcast. I'm your host, Tim Finnegan, and I lead product marketing at Verisk Marketing Solutions, a business unit of Verisk, and we specialize in consumer data and insights. The people that I usually talk to on the Marketing Report podcast are either leaders in marketing, data, or consumer insights. And my guest today, Pamela Robertson, checks the box on all three. She's an accomplished B2B marketing executive with over 25 years of experience in developing and delivering marketing programs that drive brand, customer engagement, leads, and revenue. And she's currently the Chief Marketing Officer of Paytronix and former SVP of Global Marketing at TransUnion. We had a great discussion, and Pamela shared her career path and challenges she has overcome. For example, marketing automation and the impact of social media on marketing campaigns. We then talked about how data-driven insights are foundational to B2B marketing. And then Pamela got into some cool things in data and marketing world that she's working on, like intent data. We talked about how she partners with sales to really understand the flow of marketing and those leads created and how they flow through the funnel. I hope you enjoyed today's podcast and enjoy Pamela Robertson.
Tim, I'm so thrilled to be here. Thanks for having me.
No problem. So just to start us off, Pamela, can you tell us a little bit about not only Paytronix, but what you do as CMO there? I know it's Chief Marketing Officer, but sometimes there's a difference of what you're mostly responsible for.
Sure. Happy to. So Paytronix is a B2B2C cloud-based digital guest engagement platform for the hospitality industry. So what we do is we help restaurants and convenience stores engage with their customers in ways that drive strong loyalty. So when you think about your favorite restaurant chain, right? And their loyalty program where you get special offers, redeemable points, that sort of thing. Our software likely powers that personalized communication to you, the customer, and also manages the process on the back end for the restaurant. We also provide online ordering to brands, which of course became incredibly critical during COVID. Plus we do messaging, payments. We also have an amazing strategy and analytics practice that many of our clients rely on to make sure their engagement strategies are personalized and effective when they go out to their guests. So our ICP is typically a marketing leader, but we also work with IT and operations, especially when it comes to online ordering. And Paytronix is cool. It is, really deep industry roots. It was founded over 20 years ago. So in a lot of ways, evolved from a technology perspective with a lot of the brands that you frequent every day. Data, as you mentioned, right, is key to all of this. And we use it every single day to help our clients reach their customers in ways that engage and delight them, right, and keep them loyal. And I joined about 15 months ago to really put into place a performance marketing engine to help us engage with our prospects and with our customers in more effective ways. So my team is made up of a demand generation practice. We also, of course, have brand and PR and events. We also have sales enablement and strategy on our team. I'm responsible for that, including our business development rep function is also part of my team. Very, very heavy on strategy, on understanding the competition, on really just getting Paytronix out there in a way that is very driven by case studies, by thought leadership, by how we deliver benefits to the brands that we're seeking to engage with.
So do you know Jen Bell from Let Us Entertain You. So if you're doing the restaurant chains, she was
Yeah,
on the podcast. You have to go listen to that.
I did. And they're one of our clients.
Oh, great.
Yeah. That's really cool. That's fun.
So what I failed to mention earlier is that one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on is that we're spotlighting women in business for Women's History Month. And I really thought it was important to get your story out because I love it that, some of the things that you just talked about and just your breadth of experience at Experian and TransUnion. But I have to imagine you've had some challenges along the way or some little bumps in your career because one just doesn't become a CMO. There's things that you have to overcome or do. And just was wondering if you could tell your little story about any challenges that you've overcome.
Oh, gosh. Well, of course, we all have them. I think back on some fun moments, like I think it was in 2005 when social media was really just becoming a thing. And a small agency, which was trying to figure it out, right? How to be on Facebook and how to create communities online. And they hired me to work on some of their brands and they had no idea what they were doing. And I had no idea what I was doing. No idea.
Sounds like a good combo.
It was like the Wild West. But it was really fun because we got to kind of build it together and I got some really cool experience. But that was a little bit of that was hard because it's like no one knew what they were doing. So that was interesting. But now, of course, that's a huge part of marketing and B2B marketing, especially like we leverage LinkedIn continuously, right? It's a really important engagement platform for us, both organically and for paid. So I think, other things, it's sort of, I guess a lot of marketers deal with this, right? It's getting buy-in on what is really influenced by marketing, right? What does that mean? Marketing influence revenue. Having leaders especially in larger organizations, understand the model of how we do cross-channel, multi-threaded campaigns and understanding that how that influence actually brings something to a closed deal. I have found that quite challenging in a number of places. Mm-hmm. Not where I am now. There's a ton of belief in we're a data company in a lot of ways at Paytronix. So I have wonderful buy-in from our leadership and our board. But over the years, I won't name, but some big companies where I'm with senior members of the leadership team and they were just like, I don't get it. That's not true. The salesperson brought that in. So that's kind of hard. So the more you can be data driven and have models that people understand and buy into. I also started a role where they brought in marketing automation before I joined. And it was an extremely expensive proposition that some of the folks that made the decision failed to get buy-in from some of the business leaders, and they were pissed. Yeah. I hope I can say that on a podcast. They were not happy because they're like, well, no one asked me. And leaders were like, well, but this is going to help generate revenue. And so I joined, and there was this huge amount of skepticism about whether this was the right thing to do. And so I had to do a ton of overcoming that skepticism. And I always say, success breeds engagement and buy-in, because once we started, there were a few business units that bought into it and we started to be able to prove that it worked. And then the skeptics started coming on board. Well, when can I get that marketing automation? So that's, I think what I would say to people who are coming up is like the buy-in is so important, and being able to tell the stories and prove that like this worked. We did this. It led to this. It closed this. Come on, let me show you over and over and over again how these things actually do influence engagement and influence revenue at the end of the day, because that's really what it's all about.
I love some of the things that you said, especially getting buy-in, because I always say this. It's like I tell young people, like, either out of college, get a sales job, because you're going to have to sell yourself, sell your idea at some point in your career, because you need to get those soft skills of like, how do I bring this in to make sure it works? And something that you said about marketing automation made me think of my conversation with our friend Jen Bell. Is she said, if I could do everything over again, because she was just going through a digital transformation, is that I would have brought my people in to be part of the process rather than tell them this is what we're doing, because people automatically think, well, how is this going to affect me? Am I going to lose my job? What's this market automation really going to do? So I think that's pretty cool. The third thing that I wanted to talk to you about, you brought it up a bunch, is sort of this data-driven insights. And I remember some conversations we had at TU about that very thing. Can you just talk about sort of how data is important to you and as foundation and sort of not only in your business, but sort of you making decisions and for your company right now?
Yeah, well, everything we do from a marketing perspective just about is driven by data and by what we see. And I think one thing that's really unique, and I'm just thrilled about it at Paytronix, is sales and marketing are tied at the hip. Like the chief revenue officer and we are accountable for delivering pipeline and revenue. And it doesn't matter where it comes from. We have a pipeline number that we have to go get. So that eliminates well, did you deliver me a good MQL? Did you not deliver me a good marketing qualified lead? It's a jointly owned revenue goal. And to get to that, we have to understand every single MQL that comes in, why is it qualified? So that's really important, obviously, is having an understanding of what your MQL is, an agreement, right, with the sales team on what that MQL is, and then how it goes through the funnel, right? How are we nurturing it? What sales stage is it in? What is the percentage of close rate? Like at Paytronix, and I'm grateful for this because I didn't have this as much in other companies, where I've had to really understand, I've almost had to become a sales leader as well as a marketing leader. I have to understand the flow of pipeline and where things are getting stuck. In the past, I was more responsible for the upfront part, right? For filling the funnel. And then we looked at close rates, but I didn't have as much accountability for close rates as I do now. So I've had to really learn and understand Salesforce, which is always a joy in every new organization coming in. And what's wrong with Salesforce? Not in any way to slam Salesforce. It's always about how is Salesforce set up? How is it used? Right? Are the processes being followed? You have changes in leadership, which creates all kinds of challenges with that. But I really understand the flow of leads through a funnel and can look at that data every day. We also look at it by channel. I hired an incredible demand generation director who understands the unit economics of every single channel that we're putting money into and is able to tell us, like, all right, we're going to pull back on Google ads. We're going to lean more into LinkedIn this month because of X, Y, and Z. So again, it's all data driven, which takes the mystery out of it. And it also helps create the buy-in because you're able to prove it. And we sit with our CEO, with our chief data officer and chief of staff, and we go over these in some granularity because they don't want to know everything, but they want to make sure that because I have a good budget, right? I'm one of the departments that gets a budget. And we will think about, do we want to add some more budget, right? Based on what we're seeing, which is wonderful, versus let's cut the marketing budget, which I think we've all been through. So data helps us to be very transparent, to be able to report and be able to make decisions and create really strong buy-in.
So I think everyone wants to hear about the times where you fought with your chief sales officer. Did you? Because it seems like in Paytronix, you're in a good spot. Would you get that? You don't have to go there. You don't have to go there.
No. I've been lucky. I've had some really great sales leaders that I've worked with, but I've never been. Our CEO, who's relatively new, is a former chief revenue officer for a public company. So he is. And I haven't worked for a lot of organizations where the head of the CEO is from the sales and marketing side. That's different for me. So he pushes us in a good way to really understand the data and bring the data and look at it in lots of different ways. He'll say, why don't you go figure out how to look at it this way? And then I'm like, oh God, I wish I took more finance in college because I'm a marketer. I don't have a finance degree. But it's super helpful. And I like being pushed. Another thing about me, just coming up through the years, like I love a challenge. Put a challenge in front of me, I'll go figure out how to get it done. So it's like I always want to be learning. And because marketing evolves so quickly and has become such a data-driven discipline, you sort of have to do that. I would say that to anyone coming up. It's like, know your math. Like be able to really embrace the math and the data to be able to be really successful as a CMO.
And I love some of the things that you're saying, especially, or what made me think is that my daughter's in college right now and she's majoring in marketing. And I'm like, one of the greatest things about marketing is there's all these different pockets to it. It's just not social media, but there's lead gen, there's, sort of that analytic side with data, and there's the selling side of it, and there's the content and the English, and, you need a lot of skill set or different skill sets to do it. So when you think about not just marketing, but when you think of, say, your own CRM and how that, how you have to actually build great customer relationships through it, having the good data, like how do you tackle making sure like your first party data, your CRM, like that's all up to speed? Can you just touch on that?
Yeah. Well, like I said, that's the great challenge, right? Is the cleanliness of the data, the deduping of the data. So we've been working a lot on that. And everywhere I've worked, that's been a thing, right? That you just have to kind of go through that. We enhance our data. This is our customer and prospect data I'm talking about, right? Like we're trying to make sure our Salesforce is as clean as possible. We use HubSpot as our marketing automation platform. And then I will say we've had some challenges where we'll run a campaign and there's some really lousy data in there, right? So we put a pause on, we go in, we get our Zoom info account going, and we try to enhance and get these contact records to where they need to be. It's an ongoing process. As a company, I don't think there was a ton of discipline around that in the past. We've got some kind of newer leadership in sales and marketing where we're really, making that something that we're very focused on. We use 6 Sense for intent. That's pretty new for us, but we're seeing some really good early results from that to really understand buyer intent. I think that's going to be something that just continues to grow in the marketing arena as an important way to know, and then tailoring your outreach based on that, right? And we also do things like good old fashioned, like boots on the ground, account-based marketing, where, we sell to enterprise brands and they're very hard to get into. They're not going to pick up the phone when the enterprise sales rep calls. And it's interesting, they engage with our content and our campaigns, but it's very hard to penetrate them. So we recently ran a program with a vendor who part of their model, and you may have heard of this, Tim, right? They bring in your big prospects, right? So we told them who we wanted. They brought them in. They did a super slick, it's like a Zoom meeting, but you feel like you're in a TV studio with an amazing journalist who was the anchor. And we prepped, really carefully with these folks. Like, what do they want to hear about? Ours was about AI, right? And so you'd be amazed. So many of the big restaurant and convenience store brands are just like many of us struggling with how to use AI. And we have a chief data officer who's brilliant and great at AI. And that's something we're leaning really hard into at Paytronix. So anyway, they facilitated these wonderful roundtables with these enterprise brands. And now we may not sell them anything right away, but now we have credibility with them. They're in our database. They will pick up the phone and talk to our chief data officer because he was so insightful. So that's like blocking and tackling type of marketing. That's working for us as well.
Yeah, I love I love like that old school marketing with a twist, like some of the stuff that you're doing with ABM, and you have to at least try to make that connection. You had said something that made me really curious on how your point of view on this. You had mentioned 6 Sense. We work with them as well, and they've got a lot of good services. You mentioned HubSpot and Salesforce, but I want you to think about like that Lumascape where there's those thousands and thousands of vendors. I have to imagine some of them are reaching out to you. So how do they get to you? Like, is there anything that you see that is in an email or an outreach that you're like, oh, this makes sense? And I think I'll just let you answer. We've talked about it before.
Yes. Well, yes, I do hear from people all day. Every day, which is fine. Again, I run the BDR function, so I get it. Like they're doing their jobs. Apparently my cell phone number has made it into Zoom info, I guess. So, because I'm getting calls all day and voicemails, but I think I pay a lot of attention. Like I do a lot of research, and I also have really, really a great team of experts who know a lot about what's out there. So we knew we needed intent data, right, for understanding obviously intent and for retargeting and other things. I really love website personalization. So I have a company I've worked with that I want to bring in to do that. Chat, like we're putting chat functionality onto our website. So we evaluated vendors for chat. We're doing it through HubSpot actually, which is fantastic. So it's really just sort of paying attention to the industry, seeing what others are doing and using, trying to steal some of their good marketing outreach to see some really I get a lot of people who want to take me to Celtics games, which is really tempting, but because I live in Boston, but I won't do that because that's mean if I'm not going to use them. But just really paying attention, relying on my team, and then evaluating, talking to people, and then just making decisions. But it's ever changing, and there's always somebody new that's coming up.
Well, I know that's hard for you to turn down Celtics fan because you're such a big sports and Boston fan. So
yeah, it is hard. It is hard, but I would only go if I had some potential intent to buy their services.
Okay. That's fine. So Pamela, I know the answer because I think you've got like a new product coming out. So do you want to sort of give everyone just a little teaser into what Paytronix is coming out with soon?
Yeah. So we rely on our customer data, right? And we're looking at augmenting that, right? Enhancing that with some third-party data to get even more insights for our clients. So that is a solution that we are planning to launch sometime this year. And that's something different for us, right? And again, like we have wonderful data from our clients. We know exactly what their customers and guests are doing. But what if we could add something on top, right, around their social media or any other behaviors, right, that are going to enhance the ability to target them with really, really strong personalized offers beyond just the behavior that they're exhibiting every day as they interact with the brand. So that is something new and exciting for us. And like you and I, Tim, come from the world of data. So it's not that unusual for us to, but it is something new in this sort of restaurant customer and guest engagement platform type of work. So we're excited about that. That's something we're cooking on pretty hard.
Well, Pamela, thank you. And I told you this would go by easy. I go 20 minutes. It's going to be like nothing.
Did we do it already? Oh my goodness.
Yes. I want to thank you. One of the things I love about this podcast is I get to talk to people like you, and I come away with learning new things on how to be a better marketer. So I value you and I love your career, and thanks for being on the Marketing Report podcast.
Well, thank you. It was fun. And I appreciate you having me.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Marketing Report. This show is brought to you by Verisk Marketing Solutions, an organization created to help CMOs and their partners improve the reach, timing, relevance, and compliance of every consumer engagement. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure you subscribe to the Marketing Report wherever you get your podcasts, and check out the show notes for more information.